there has been, I think, something in school where, because, it's more protected than being out in the world, and there are more resources than many of the, low budget things I was working on before I came here. There has been something really fulfilling about having a sort of wild idea. I'm thinking of doing an LH play in which we stage the whole play of walking up Mount Kilimanjaro, and how do you do that in an empty theater? Getting to tackle these kind of big questions. How do you reimagine the end of a Shakespeare play that people have many, many opinions about what the end of Measure for Measure should be? How do you imagine that and work with the team to actually realize in some form, even if it's a small or low budget form, how do you realize that vision? I think the process of going through the program has been one of getting to sort of have larger dreams and questions about what vision might look like with resources and scale, and getting to take steps towards realizing those questions and ideas at scale with resources. I can see the progress from staging a play on a bare stage with people hiking with a few props to doing something in this elaborate costumes with these snap beats that allow time to shift really quickly. I can see the progression of idea, if that makes sense, from the beginning through the end, and getting to see that scale evolve alongside the idea's evolution.
It's always interesting to me to hear Alex talk about sort of her track through the school, because the dramaturgy department operates in a really different way. My first production here was a third-year playwriting thesis with a playwright that I had a relationship with prior to coming to school. I did a Hamlet, I did a fall project, I did assorted other projects, but our coursework really does follow a trajectory of culmination through sort of our academic work. And I think there has been a relationship between my work on Affinity and my academic work. So I did part of my comprehensive exams on queer theater in America from basically Gertrude Stein to today. I will be writing a dissertation about lesbian theater from the 70s to today. And I think alongside that, there's an interest that I have found through both my coursework and work outside of the school with lesbian archival research. And my coursework has supported that. And I think this show is one of the culminations of those interests in a way that operates really differently from directing.
The last 2 years has been a process in leading through crisis management, and I think there's no use in pretending that that's not true. That is literally what what I feel like my role in directing has been. It's been directing processes and new plays, but it's also been in managing a series of ongoing crises as the student leader, even though obviously in the broader institution, the student leader doesn't have a ton of power, but in the rehearsal room, inherently, the director has, the most power. And thinking of the intersection of arts and advocacy has been actually a large part of my time here. And I think that being a strong advocate for my collaborators will ultimately make me a better artist because I'll understand the mission behind the work I'm making. I think in this last project, being able to do something that was really advocating for primarily women and non-binary artists and queer artists, that felt really important to me, and I think has allowed me to move forward from school thinking about how my artistry can uplift groups of people who have otherwise not had their voices heard as much in the American theater landscape.
I think in addition to crisis management, which is also true of a dramaturg in any process or a co-adapter in any process, the level of crisis management that extends from the director has to be supported by other leadership in the room. And so I think that's been a big part of this year for sure. But I also think the process of adaptation that we have experienced and the process of making that adaptation real or realized has been a process of also confidence building, of saying that yes, we have this idea and this is a strong idea and one that we're willing to fight the institution to do, or one that we're willing to protect our peers in order to create a safe rehearsal space, or one where we're able to have a conversation with our two lead actors about a scene missing a beat and then go away and write a couple lines and have that fix the problem. And having that nimbleness or that ability to adapt across sort of all spheres, whether that's from that private rehearsal room to meetings with institutional leadership, I think has been a process of confidence in both ourselves and our work.